5 wins this season when trailing in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter, tied for most by any team in a season since the 1970 merger. Dominique, I think a lot of people, based on the teams they've played and everything else, are asking the question, are these Bears for real?
A lot of people are right to be asking that question because I don't think I believe what I said in July.
Why?
Even though that they are because I watched the football games, Peter.
In July, he had that Hennessy over there on the side. That's what
their defense is thriving on turnovers, and Caleb is getting better, but this offense is not consistent in a way. They're dependent on his rushing attack. Like, that's what this offense is built on, is because it's a level of rushing attack. If you're asking me, are they better than the Lions? Honestly, I don't think they're better than the Lions right now.
All right, or the Packers, maybe, for that matter.
But look, I think Caleb Williams, what you're seeing him do right now is exactly what this organization hoped would happen with Ben Johnson. When you put him under center, when you let him run play action, his ability to now know where to go with the football when he's under pressure, when he's being blitzed. Look, Brian Flores heated his rear end up over and over. This guy is top 5 in QBR versus the blitz, top 10 in QBR versus pressure, or maybe it's flipped. Either way, he's top 10 in both of those categories. That is a huge improvement. You saw what he did just a week ago, how he led this team back. You saw the off-schedule plays this guy can make. And I'm telling you, with the way this offensive line is protecting, the way they're running the football, and the way these wide receivers are catching the ball, this team is dangerous now.
They lead the league in interceptions. They lead the league in takeaways. They lead the league in turnover differential. That stuff matters. Right. That stuff's real.
It's why they're winning.
That's why they're winning. But Caleb's playing better and better every week. This was just his second win ever in the NFC North. It was Ben Johnson's first ever NFC North win. It was Ryan Poles' just 4th NFC North division win. So this is all new to them. I get it if you want to be skeptical. They're winning football in Bears
critical
ways.
Statistics, this young man is ascending.
So I don't want to be skeptical to my friends, family, and wife who are all crazy about the Bears. I said before the season that you will judge their year not based on their win-loss record. You will judge their year based on whether or not when the season ends, you know you've got the guy. That is happening.
Absolutely.
For sure. Whether they win the division or not, that is happening.
100%. Yeah, if the Bears fans got to be happy irrespective of what the rest of the season looks like. The problem for the Bears is their schedule is about to get real. It's about to get real, and all those numbers that you're talking about, turnovers, all that kind of stuff, that stuff starts to drift back down. It's harder to win. But the success of the season for the Bears is already a plus, bro. This is a big-time change by Ben Johnson.
But I want to run through all the teams here. So let's get to the Vikings next. It was another tough day for JJ McCarthy Sunday in a year where Sam Darnold is playing great. And McCarthy is looking at the opposite side. He's last in the NFL in total QBR. He's last in the NFL in completion percentage. He's thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. 5 of his 8 interceptions have come when targeting Justin Jefferson. Lewis, obviously, the most important number here is 5. That's how many games he has started. But there are people asking already, is this experiment failing?
And I would just go back to that number 5 that you talked about. It's 5 games. He missed his entire rookie season. He started 5 games. Now, you cannot discount the fact that for about 57 minutes and 30 seconds in this game, he was awful. He looked scared in the pocket. His mechanics were all over the place. He was airmailing passes where you're sitting there going, you have a clean pocket, dude. Just put it on the receiver. And then he led him down the field to a touchdown drive and made some big-time throws. He has got to become more consistent. You have to give him more time. They traded up to the 10th pick overall. You cannot make a sweeping generalization about his career off of 5 starts. You just can't. But he has to get better.
That's fair. But the inaccuracy is alarming, right, Nick?
Alarming.
I mean, the misses are really bad.
You think in Minnesota they could get the clock operator to always make it less than 2 minutes in a tie ball game.
It's great.
And just trick him into thinking that this is a clutch moment all the time. Because what happens to him in those situations over the course of this 5 games has been impressive. But if you chop those ends of the game off and look at this, it'd be reasonable to say, oh, we might have made a mistake. Because the accuracy is really concerning.
It's a problem.
And the fact that I know that progress isn't always linear, but that it doesn't seem like he's getting better is, I think, the concerning part until you get into a clutch situation that all of a sudden he blacks out.
Yeah, I think you got to be patient with this. I mean, listen, and if you're the one good thing, you just saw Sam Darnold go against the Rams again, and it didn't look good. So if you're the Vikings, you beat 10-1 or whatever it is, you still got to run through the same horses to get to where you want to get to. Maybe McCarthy puts you over the top in the future.
The trouble is, and Peter, you have been saying this all year, there were so many factors at play that are not his fault, but based upon the class he was drafted in and what they gave up and all the...
Who was in the room,
right,
and who else was drafted in that class. Those are two enormous mountains to overcome, and unless he was to be a runaway success, this was going to be a failure, and here we are. Guys, if Devin Duvernay doesn't return a kick 50 yards, they win, and we're saying, JJ's Mr. Clutch. It's that thin a margin now.
5 games.
5 games.
That part of it is for sure. We can't make any decisions about the entirety of his career, but from this season's perspective, it's been rocky. I want to go to Green Bay next. Jordan Love, if you look at the box score Sunday, had sort of a pedestrian day, under 200 yards, just over 50% completion, but he was missing Tucker Kraft. Josh Jacobs exited earlier in the game, and his receivers dropped officially 4 balls. It felt more than that. If you exclude drops, his day actually season low 4% of his throws were off target. So, Jeff, Saturday, did Jordan Love silence the doubters with this win on Sunday?
I don't think so. Listen, this is not Jordan Love. This is just reality of where we are in this. They just haven't beat. They beat the Lions in week 1. The next best team they beat is the Steelers, y'all. You listen, Himbo gave me this. Love beat Cincinnati, 32nd defense. Tied Dallas, 31st. Beat the Giants, 29th. Beat the Commanders, 28th. Beat the Cardinals, 25th. Like, you got to play who's on the schedule. But he's not tearing it up playing some of the bottom defenses in our game. And here's the bottom line. You pay Jordan Love to be the dude. To be the dude, right? Now, you can't control the drops, but the inconsistency that we see play, that part for him has to be, everybody's got to be able to count. That guy is not going to be the problem. Yeah. And that's my issue with him.
And Jordan Love is in this category that we reward these quarterbacks when they get to a certain point, but the reward that we give them is we're going to grade you on a different scale.
Amen.
Jordan Love can't prove anything to us against the Giants in the middle of the season.
No.
It's already been proven. We already know that you're capable of this. What Jordan Love has to do is like that next level, those bigger games. And so he's not going to silence any doubters until he does it against the Eagles or he does it in the playoffs against one of these bigger teams.
Right.
Unless you're a really deep in the weeds football fan or a Packers message where, like, you don't recognize some of these names he's throwing to, the Savion Williams and the Bo Meltons. These are not your household names, not what he was dealt with. So I'll give him a lot of credit for, yes, the drops happened, but also rising above all the injuries on that offense and playing really well on Sunday.
There's no question about that. Look, I understand that level of competition matters, okay, and context matters. That's what we're talking about.
Right.
But some of Jordan Love's decisions on Sunday were spectacular. Some of the ball placement was spectacular. I don't care if you're throwing against me or if you're throwing against Deion Sanders. The ball placement was what it was.
Yeah.
It's just, can he make this a repeatable thing, a consistent thing? That's what drives people nuts. But look, there's a reason why Brian Gutekunst rewarded him already, because he saw it. And now it's up to him and the coaching staff to make sure it becomes something that's a little bit more leveled out. Because it's there.
I think what Nick said also is an important point to leave it on for the Packers, and we'll get to the Lions, is and it's not his fault. When you trade for Micah Parsons at the beginning of the season, you're saying we have a championship team. We're not asking Jordan Love to be good. We're not asking him to throw for a lot of yards against the Giants. We're saying lead us to a title.
That's right.
I think that's where the bar is set. All right, the last one is the Lions. And they certainly stayed true to their identity Sunday in Philadelphia. They went for it on 4th down 5 times. They converted none of them. Yes, it was a blustery, windy night, but the average field position for each of those 4th down attempts was the Eagles' 38-yard line. 3 of those attempts came within 10 yards of midfield. And Dominique, I'm going to ask you this question leadingly because I know you have a fascinating look at this. Do you believe Dan Campbell should continue